Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, coin lovers, history buffs, and treasure seekers. Today, we're zooming in on a coin that might feel utterly ordinary in your pocket but could be hiding a jaw-dropping secret. That's right, we're talking about the 1966 Lincoln penny. Yes, the everyday copper 1-cent piece from the United States that has been shuttling through wallets and jars for decades. At first glance, it looks simple. A small, unassuming penny, just 1 cent. But by the end of this video, you'll realize it might be one of the most exciting coins you'll ever hold. Let's dive into the deep story behind this coin, its origin, its rare twists, and what could make one worth a small fortune. Flashback to 1966. America was riding the wave of change. The Beatles and Rolling Stones were dominating radios, the Vietnam War was escalating, and the pace of life was quickening. The penny you're holding was minted during a time when America was undergoing social shifts and embracing new frontiers, on TV, in culture, and on money. Look closely. On the obverse, there's Lincoln, America's 16th president, etching his enduring presence in metal. Above him, the slogan, "In God We Trust." To the left, Liberty. To the right, the date, 1966. Notice something missing? No mint mark. That's right. From 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint deliberately removed mint marks from coins, an effort to discourage hoarding and collectability during a coin shortage. That means all 1966 pennies bear no letter under the date, regardless of where they were struck. But here's the kicker, even without mint marks, some coins were still special. When millions of coins are struck, tiny mistakes and variations can happen. Most are harmless and unseen. Every now and then, though, these anomalies create rare errors coveted by collectors. And that's where the real value of a 1966 penny could lie. Let's start with doubling errors. One of the most prized types is the double die obverse, when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly for a double strike. This can cause bold doubling on words like Liberty, In God We Trust, or on the date. Under magnification, you may see thick, ghostly shadows beside the raised lettering. That kind of visual effect instantly turns a simple penny into something extraordinary. Next up, striking anomalies. Ever heard of off-center strikes? That's when the coin isn't perfectly aligned in the press, leaving part of the design cut off. A slight off-center might elevate a penny's value slightly, but anything over about 25% off-center becomes dramatically more desirable, maybe forever inaccessible for collectors. Other anomalies include clipped planchets, coins struck on irregular blanks, and die cracks, tiny raised lines branching across the surface, each a sign of minting error and value. Another fascinating category, foreign planchet strikes. Picture a 1966 Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet or a foreign blanched blank. A mismatched coin like that is extremely rare, and extremely valuable. We also can't forget about proof coins. During this mint mark-free era, collectors could still get special versions of coins called proofs. These were struck on polished planchets with precision dies that produced sharper details and mirror-like surfaces. A proof penny with an error, like doubling or missing elements, becomes a precious find, but none of that matters without condition. Coins are graded from 1 to 70 on the Sheldon scale. Most 1966 pennies are circulated, full of scratches, color wear, and dullness. A gem is a coin graded MS 65 or higher, sharp edges, full detail, crisp surfaces. A pristine, red luster 1966 with a major error? You've just crossed into collector fever territory. Okay, you might be thinking, sure, that's nice, but did anyone ever find one of these mythical 1966 error coins? Yes, they have. In fact, one particular 1966 penny made waves among collectors. It was a gem, brilliant red, uncirculated, with a strong double die obverse, a die crack, and razor-sharp detail. The collector who discovered it had it professionally graded, authenticated, and eventually sold it in an auction that sparked a bidding frenzy. Today, you're about to enter a world where the smallest things hold the greatest secrets. A place where a simple copper coin, something you might have overlooked in your change or ignored at the bottom of a drawer, could actually be a hidden treasure. That's right. We're diving into the story of the 1964 Lincoln penny, and trust me, it's one ride you don't want to miss. You might be thinking, it's just a penny. What's so special about a coin worth 1 cent? But by the end of this video, you'll be checking every single 1964 penny you come across, because one of them might just change your life. Let's rewind to the year 1964. It was a time of change and momentum in America. The civil rights movement was in full swing, the Beatles were landing in the US, and the space race was heating up. Americans were filled with hope, ambition, and dreams of a better future. Meanwhile, quietly and efficiently, the US Mint was producing one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Lincoln cent. It had already been in circulation for over 5 decades at that point, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, and in 1964, that tradition continued. Flip the coin to the front, and you'll find Lincoln's ever-stoic profile. His calm, confident expression, the image that has represented honesty and unity for generations. Above him, the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, liberty. And to the right, the year that started it all, 1964. Now, look carefully below that date. Depending on your coin, you may or may not see a small letter. That's the mint mark, and it tells you where the coin was made. In 1964, the Lincoln penny was struck at 2 U.S. mints, Philadelphia. Coins from this mint have no mint mark, Denver. These carry a small D beneath the date. Here's where things start to get exciting. Most people don't realize it, but 1964 was a major year in U.S. coinage. The country was experiencing a coin shortage. As a result, the U.S. Mint produced an unusually high number of pennies to keep up with demand. Over 6.5 billion Lincoln cents were minted that year, making it one of the most heavily produced pennies in history. So you might ask, if there were billions made, what could possibly make one of these pennies worth more than just a cent? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and the potential for minting errors. Let's talk about condition first. The majority of 1964 pennies that are still around today have been passed from hand to hand, used in transactions, kept in jars, or left in drawers. They've been scratched, worn down, and discolored. But a few, just a few, were carefully set aside the day they were minted. These are the uncirculated coins, often referred to by collectors as mint state, graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. A coin in MS-65 condition or higher is considered pristine. If it still carries its original red copper luster, even better. A red 1964 penny, with its fiery glow and untouched surface, is the kind of coin collectors dream of, but even in great condition, a 1964 penny still needs something more to truly stand out. That's where mint errors and varieties come in, and this is where the magic really happens, the most sought-after type of error. The legendary double die obverse, or DDO. It occurs when the coin die, used to strike the design onto the blank coin, shifts between strikes, creating a doubling effect. On a 1964 DDO penny, you might see doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," in "Liberty," or even in the numbers of the date itself. It's not just a little blurry, it's distinct, dramatic, and unmistakable. Then there are repunched mint marks, RPMs. In 1964, mint marks were still manually punched into the die, which meant human error was very much a factor. Sometimes the D was punched more than once, and slightly off, creating a shadowy or doubled effect beneath the date. These RPMs are highly collectible, especially when crisp and easy to spot. Other errors you might stumble upon include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin is missing due to a trimming error, die cracks, which appear as raised lines across the coin's surface, basically a scar left by a damaged die. B errors, which are unique to Lincoln cents and look like an extra I between the B and E in Liberty. These errors were so common in the 1950s and 60s that they've become their own little collector niche. These quirks aren't mistakes, they're accidents of history, stamped in metal. Now here's something not everyone knows: proof-like coins from this period also exist. Although official proof coins weren't struck for circulation in 1964, some regular business strike pennies from this year display proof-like qualities due to highly polished dies used early in the minting process. These coins shine like a mirror and are incredibly rare when paired with a mint error. So let's imagine for a moment that you're holding one of these special coins. It's a 1964 penny, yes. But under a magnifying glass, you spot something unusual. There's a distinct doubling in the lettering. The color? A bright, fiery red. The surface? Smooth, unblemished, mint state perfection. You send it in for grading. The result? MS66 red. Verified DDO. Rare repunched mint mark. Only a handful like it in existence. You've just struck gold. From copper, collectors are passionate. The rarest examples of seemingly common coins can send shockwaves through auctions. And when a 1964 Lincoln penny of this caliber surfaced, professionally graded, preserved in gem condition, and boasting a dramatic error, it didn't just catch eyes. It made headlines, and now, for the part you've been waiting for, that one special 1964 Lincoln penny, shiny, perfect, flawed in all the right ways, was valued and sold for a staggering $70,000, yes. $70,000. For a penny, let that sink in. A 1-cent coin, exchanged hands for the price of a luxury car, or a down payment on a dream home. It's not fantasy. It's the world of coin collecting. And it's very real. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of a coin you might think is just everyday pocket change but is actually hiding some incredible secrets, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1981. Yes, that small copper coin you might have seen a million times could be worth way more than you think. Stick with me as we explore the rich history, unique features, and rare minting quirks of the 1981 Lincoln penny, and why one of these might just be worth a jaw-dropping amount. Let's start by setting the scene. It's 1981 in America. The country is bustling with energy, music, culture, and technology are evolving rapidly. The economy is navigating the ups and downs, and everyday Americans are carrying out their lives, often with a few pennies jingling in their pockets. The Lincoln penny, already a staple since 1909, continues to be an emblem of American heritage and resilience. Now, the 1981 penny might not seem like much at first glance. The coin features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's image has graced this coin for decades, symbolizing honesty and unity. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust," arches proudly, while "Liberty" sits on the left side, and the year, 1981, rests to the right. Below the date, you'll see the mint mark indicating where the coin was struck, either a D for Denver or no mark at all for Philadelphia. What really sets certain 1981 pennies apart, though, are the rare minting errors and variations that sometimes slip through the production line. These accidental quirks can dramatically increase the coin's value, turning something seemingly ordinary into a collector's dream. One of the most sought-after anomalies on the 1981 penny is the famous double die obverse error. This occurs when the die used to stamp the coin's face shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubled image of the date or lettering. Imagine seeing a shadow or echo behind the numbers or letters. That's a telltale sign of a double die. These double dies aren't easy to spot with the naked eye but become glaringly obvious under magnification. A 1981 Lincoln penny with a strong double die on the obverse can be worth a small fortune because of its rarity, but that's not all. There are also variations in mint marks, such as repunched mint marks, RPM, where the mint mark letter has been stamped more than once, slightly off-center, creating a doubled or ghostly effect. Collectors adore these imperfections because they capture a moment of history frozen in metal, a snapshot of the human element in the minting process. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks are other types of errors you might encounter with the 1981 penny. An off-center strike happens when the coin isn't perfectly aligned during stamping, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. Clipped planchets look like coins with a bite taken out of them, due to an improperly cut blank before striking. Die cracks are tiny raised lines that form when the coin die develops a fissure. These subtle features can also increase a coin's value significantly. especially when combined with pristine condition. Speaking of condition, this is a crucial factor when determining a coin's worth. Most pennies from 1981 have circulated extensively. They're worn, scratched, and dull. But some examples remain in mint state, MS, with sharp details and the original reddish copper luster intact. These high-grade examples are far rarer and much more valuable, especially when paired with a notable minting error. In 1981, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, which naturally means that many have been lost, spent, or damaged over the years. However, only a handful of those have survived in exceptional condition or with the rare errors that collectors crave. That's what drives the value of these coins up, sometimes exponentially. Now, you might wonder if anyone has actually sold a 1981 Lincoln penny for a significant sum. The answer is yes. There have been verified cases where rare error coins, especially those with clear double-die obverse features or notable mint mark varieties, have fetched impressive prices at auctions and private sales. So, if you ever stumble upon a 1981 penny that looks a bit off, maybe the numbers look doubled, or the mint mark seems shadowed, or the design is slightly misaligned, don't dismiss it. It could be the key to unlocking something extraordinary. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. A perfect 1981 Lincoln penny in uncirculated condition with a rare mint error can be valued at a staggering $60,000. That's right, a small coin you probably thought was just a cent could actually be worth $60,000 in today's collector market. Today, we're diving deep into a small but mighty piece of American history, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1970. At first glance, it might look like just another penny, something you see in your change every day. But stick with me, because this coin holds secrets that could make it one of the most valuable pennies you've ever encountered. By the end of this video, you'll understand why a single 1970 Lincoln penny could be worth an astonishing amount, something that might just blow your mind. Let's take a journey back to 1970. America was in the midst of great social and political change. The Vietnam War was ongoing, the space race had reached new heights with Apollo missions, and cultural shifts were reshaping the nation. Against this backdrop, the Lincoln penny continued its unassuming role in everyday commerce, a constant companion in pockets, purses, and cash registers nationwide. The 1970 Lincoln penny features a design that had been in use since 1959, commemorating the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse side proudly displays the familiar portrait of President Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner over 6 decades earlier. Above Lincoln's head, the motto, "In God We Trust," arches gracefully, the word "Liberty" stands tall on the left, and the year, 1970, is stamped on the right. Below the date, you'll notice a mint mark, either a D for the Denver Mint or no mark at all, indicating Philadelphia. At face value, these pennies are just 1 cent each, but the story of their worth is far more fascinating and complex. You see, the 1970 Lincoln penny is not your ordinary coin. What makes it special, and potentially worth a fortune, is a combination of rarity, condition, and unique minting anomalies that are prized by collectors worldwide. First, let's talk about condition. Most pennies from 1970 have seen decades of circulation. They bear the marks of use, scratches, discoloration, and where that dull their surfaces and soften their details. But some coins have been spared the ravages of time. These, uncirculated, or mint state, pennies look almost as if they just came off the press, shiny, crisp, and untouched by human hands. A 1970 Lincoln penny in mint state condition is rare and already commands attention in the collector market, but what really makes the 1970 penny a gem among coins is the presence of errors and varieties. Minting errors occur when something goes slightly off during the production process. These errors create unique coins that are rare and highly sought after. One of the most famous errors involving the 1970 Lincoln penny is the double die obverse, DDO. The double die error happens when the coin's design is stamped twice in slightly different positions, resulting in a doubled image on the coin. On a 1970 penny, this doubling can be seen on the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty." The doubling is unmistakable under magnification and can be dramatic, making the coin instantly recognizable to collectors. There's also the repunched mint mark, RPM, error, where the mint mark is stamped more than once in slightly different locations. This gives the mint mark a shadowed or doubled appearance. Though subtle, it's highly prized by specialists who hunt for these little anomalies. Another fascinating variation is the 1970 small date and 1970 large date distinction. The difference lies in the size and shape of the numbers in the year. While not an error, the small date variety is scarcer and therefore often more valuable to collectors. Errors like off-center strikes, clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to a miscut metal blank, and die cracks are other ways the 1970 penny can stand out. Each of these flaws tells a story, a rare glimpse into the coin-making process and the human element involved. Now, combine these mint errors with coins in pristine condition, and you have a recipe for a very valuable collectible. But don't just take my word for it. There have been documented cases of 1970 Lincoln pennies with these rare characteristics fetching jaw-dropping prices at auction. Collectors and investors alike clamor for these coins, knowing their rarity and condition make them prized possessions. You might wonder, what kind of value are we talking about here? Well, a common 1970 penny is still worth just face value or a little more in uncirculated condition. However, a 1970 Lincoln penny exhibiting a dramatic double die obverse, repunched mint mark, or other significant error, especially in mint state condition, can command prices that seem almost unbelievable. Today, a truly exceptional 1970 Lincoln penny, one that's well preserved and features rare minting errors, can be valued at a staggering $68,000. Yes, $68,000 for a single penny. Imagine that, a coin so small, yet so powerful, it can be worth more than many rare collectibles and antiques combined. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of American history that's often overlooked, a small, humble coin that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1963. You might think it's just another penny, something common and everyday. But as you'll soon discover, this coin has a story and a value that could surprise you, making it a must-watch for anyone interested in rare coins or the hidden gems in their own change. Let's set the stage. 1963 was a year of significant change in America. The country was in the midst of the civil rights movement, the space race was heating up, and the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy shook the nation to its core. In the midst of this turbulent period, the Lincoln penny quietly continued its role as a staple of American currency, carrying with it the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president and a symbol of unity, freedom, and resilience. The 1963 Lincoln penny was minted during a time when the coin's design had been well established. On the front, or obverse, side, you'll find the classic profile of Abraham Lincoln, created by artist Victor David Brenner. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that had become a staple on American coins. To the left, the word "Liberty" stands tall, and to the right, the year 1963 is stamped, accompanied by a mint mark indicating where the coin was produced. The D mark shows it was minted in Denver, while the absence of a mark means it was minted in Philadelphia. Now, at first glance, a 1963 penny might look just like any other coin in your pocket. But the magic lies in the details. Collectors aren't just interested in the coin's age, they want condition, rarity, and unique characteristics that set one penny apart from millions of others. One of the biggest factors in a coin's value is its condition. Most pennies you'll find have been through decades of circulation, handled, dropped, and worn down by time. But every so often, some coins escape this fate. These uncirculated coins still sparkle with their original copper luster, with sharp details and clean surfaces. The 1963 Lincoln penny in mint state condition is already a rare find, and it commands attention among collectors. Beyond just condition, some 1963 pennies have remarkable features or minting errors that make them especially valuable. For instance, there are known varieties like double dies, where the coin's design appears to be stamped twice, creating a shadow or doubled image on the date or lettering. This happens when the coin dies shift slightly during the minting process, making each double die coin unique and instantly more valuable. Another interesting variety is the repunched mint mark, where the mint mark itself has been stamped twice in slightly different positions. This tiny imperfection is often hard to spot with the naked eye but highly prized by specialists who recognize its rarity. In addition to these, off-center strikes, die cracks, and clipped planchets are other types of mint errors that can be found on 1963 pennies. An off-center strike means the coin wasn't perfectly aligned when stamped, so part of the design is missing or shifted. Clipped planchets look like the coin has a piece missing, due to a miscut metal blank. Die cracks are small raised lines where the coin die has fractured during production. Each of these errors tells a fascinating story about the minting process and makes the coin stand out from the crowd. It's important to understand that while millions of pennies were produced in 1963, only a small fraction have survived in excellent condition, and an even smaller number feature these rare minting errors. That scarcity is what drives up the coin's value, turning a 1-cent piece into a prized collector's item. But how valuable can these coins get? Well, a common circulated 1963 penny might only be worth a few cents above its face value. But a 1963 penny in pristine uncirculated condition with a significant error, like a strong double die or repunched mint mark, can fetch astonishing prices at auctions and private sales. Some of these rare coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, captivating collectors who know that they're not just buying a coin, they're owning a piece of history, a physical connection to a pivotal era in America. And now for the moment you've been waiting for, a 1963 Lincoln penny, in immaculate condition and featuring rare minting anomalies, can be valued at an impressive $88,000. That's right, $88,000 for a penny that was originally worth just 1 cent. Imagine holding a coin so small but so rich in history and rarity that it could be worth more than many valuable collectibles combined. So next time you come across a 1963 Lincoln penny, don't just toss it in your piggy bank. Take a close look at the date, the mint mark, and examine the details carefully. If something seems unusual, maybe a doubling effect on the date or a shadow near the mint mark, you could be holding a true treasure. Coin collecting is more than just hobby, it's a journey through history, economics, and art, all wrapped up in small metal discs. The 1963 Lincoln penny stands as a shining example of how even the most humble objects can hold incredible value and significance. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1963 Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed learning about this rare and valuable coin, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories from the world of numismatics, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on new content. Keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the smallest things can hold the greatest treasures.